Good day, sir. We are the teammate that you assigned to report developing session objective. Session objective. At the end of this session, the student should be able to first explain the process and drafting session objectives and reviewing session lists. Second, develop individual session objectives. Starting point. You have already worked through the course title, description, course objectives to develop that course outline, and session groups and sessions. Second, approval for title, description, course objectives already received. Do not go back and change them. But you can reformulate the session list or even the session group. Drafting the objectives may give you a better sense of the flow. And the last, finish all session. Draft objectives for all session before creating the content.
The starting point in developing the session objectives. The first one is iterative. When we say iterative means drafting the objectives and sessions. When it's done, pause, step back, reevaluate. Rework in session objective is not wasted of effort. Because in iterative, you may decide to revise the session list in the course of doing the objectives. Tiring effort to craft objectives, which is the right action verb. But you need to build a complete picture before you draft the session. The next one is incremental validation. When we say incremental validation, validate with stakeholders would surface their session level concerns early. Best to hear them now before you draft the actual session. It says that you need to hear the stakeholders to identify any potential problems early and continue providing input throughout the construction phase. Therefore, there is a need to engage the stakeholders in the project as early as possible to determine the need and the capture stakeholders' inputs in such projects.
At the end of this session, the participant will be able to do action words. What behavior, activity, work can be performed. Examples of action verbs are can identify, explain, outline, and do. Objectives should be precisely defined so that the success or failure will be clear. SMART is an acronym. It stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Each element of the SMART framework works together to create a goal that is carefully planned, clear, and trackable. When we say specific, it has the specific result. Be as clear and specific as possible what you want to achieve. The more narrow your goal, the more you'll understand the steps necessary to achieve it. Example of specific is when you want to earn a position, managing a development team for a startup tech company. Your specific goal there is you want to earn a position, managing a development team for a startup tech company. That is the specific, the S in the SMART objectives. Next is measurable. When we say measurable, clear way to measure success or failure. Define what evidence will prove you're going to make progress and reevaluate when necessary. When you have that evidence, you will now measure if your goal will be success or it will be a failure. Next is achievable. When we say achievable, stretched but attainable. Goals should be designed like a good workout. Dito pumapasok yung mga tanong na, are your goals achievable? Do you have enough time to do that goal? And also, do you have the resources and access to them? When we say relevant naman, related to the course, your goals should be aligned with your values and long-term objectives. And lastly is the time-bound. Has a deadline, shows the caveat. When we say time-bound, until when do you want to achieve or reach your goals?
Rules of thumbs. are not necessarily correct. A rule of thumb is a heuristic guideline that offers simplified counsel or a set of basic rules for a specific topic or course of action. It is a general principle that provides guidance on how to do or approach a specific task, rather of being developed through scientific research or theoretical foundation. Rules of thumb are usually developed through practice and experience. Sa madaling salita, ang rule of thumbs ay isang malawakang gabay o prinsipyo batay sa karanasan o kasanay sa halip na teorya. If you need to draft more than 4 or 5 objectives, the session scope may be too large. And if you cannot formulate more than one objective, the session scope may be too small.
Presentation development. When we say presentation development, it is the process for creating great visual communication. When it is time to present, authentically communicate your ideas with those who can bring your ideas into reality. First, we have course description and SMART objectives. Explain these steps in structured presentation development. For many people, the thought of delivering a presentation is a task and brings about a great deal of nerves. However, if you take some time to understand how effective presentations are structured and then apply this structure to your own presentation. Step 1 is to greet the audience and introduce yourself. Before you start delivering your talk, introduce yourself to the audience and clarify who you are. Step 2 is the introduction. In the introduction, you need to explain the subject and purpose of your presentation, gaining the audience's interest and confidence. Step 3 is the main body of your talk. The main body of your talk needs to meet the promises you made in the introduction. Next is the conclusion. In presentations, the conclusion is frequently underdeveloped and lacks purpose, which is a shame as it's the best place to reinforce your messages. And last is to thank the audience and invite questions. Conclude your talk by thanking the audience for their time and invite them to ask any questions they may have. Create course description. In creating course description, it should be no longer than 100 words. Use present tense and active voice. Use clear and simple sentence structure and language, and use gender-neutral language. Create SMART objectives. Take your priorities and make a SMART objectives from each. Make each priority into concise statement. Developing course outline. A course outline is a document that benefits students and instructors. It is an essential piece when designing any course. Develop session groups based on course objectives. It takes time to develop a good session groups. However, you and your members will benefit from this presentation. As you develop, you visualize each step of the class. This helps you ensure that your thoughts about everything that you need to say and that you present information in a logical order. Plan individual session based on session group and course description. Make initial estimate on timing. Time estimation is crucial skill in developing course outlines. Without it, you won't know how long your outline will take. Developing session objectives. Under that, we have develop individual sessions objectives. In developing individual session objectives, identify the level of knowledge necessary to achieve your objectives. Before you begin developing it, stop and think about what type of changes you want to make. Align session timing. Think about the timing of your session. Some concepts or skills will take more time to master than others. So identify these upfront and allow the group extra time to absorb and practice the materials.
Discussion session objective. Process of drafting session objective. Process of drafting session or meeting is write the session, the date and time, name, affiliation, and contact details of all the participants who are in the session. Describe the events of session, responses, or suggestion, something like that, is the process of drafting session. First one is finish objective for all sessions. Siyempre, kailangan tapusin yung mga objective sa lahat ng session. And then, using iterative process, it will correcting objectives and correcting session list. And validate with stakeholders. So the stakeholders are individuals, group, or organization directly involved with or indirectly affected by a project or product, service, or enterprise. Develop individual session objective. First is action verbs. To understand more of your objective by using compare, contrast, explain, etc. Second one is using SMART. S stand for specific, to ensure the objective is not vague. And M stand for measurable, to understand what success looks like for the objective. And A stand for achievable, possible to accomplish and attainable. R stand for relevant, to improves the business in some way. And T stand for time bound, to be specific on date or time frame.